Hello everyone, Jonathan here. Quite an exciting episode, as I think you've already seen, with an unusual version of the somewhat infamous Heckler & Koch MP5K briefcase. Now, before we return to that, which is this one here, I thought we should at least check in with the more famous version, originally dubbed the Zerfallkoffer, I believe, also known latterly as the Schießkoffer. So special case or shooting case for the MP5K. So we'll have a quick look at this. I'll just upend it. So an ordinary briefcase. Obviously, it's not an ordinary briefcase. The trigger in the handle here and a thumb safety. So carry it as normal. Trigger discipline, of course. Trigger is there. Safety is on the top, and it is ambidextrous, so you can carry it either side. And then inside, probably one for our overhead camera. There we are. You've probably seen this before. If you haven't, go and check out Forgotten Weapons, and the Armourers Bench have an article on this family of interesting concealed H&K briefcases. Our example of this is quite nice because it comes with the cleaning kit and a sling in a little packet. So anyway, we don't want to dwell on that one because we have the more rare version of this system. Now it's the exact same Hofbauer D5 model briefcase, hard plastic briefcase with a sort of metal reinforcement, and it does have clips, normal briefcase style latches, but they don't do anything on this one. So with this you have to open it up to get the gun out, load it, make it ready. On this case they're effectively cosmetic. So the one that you saw me shooting earlier, or the gun from within it, because this isn't like El Mariachi or Desperado or anything like that. You don't shoot it from inside the case, as you've seen. What you do is squeeze the handle on the top and it ejects the case itself. I've always thought of this as the clown car edition of the MP5 briefcase because it sort of falls apart on you. So the German name for this is Zerfallkoffer, so breakaway case, essentially. Correct me if I'm wrong, German speakers, please. But as I say, it's the same basic shell. Very similar handle design, actually. The standard case is just a normal pivoting briefcase handle. So neither of if you looked closely at either of these, you would realize that it's not actually a normal briefcase. Most people, of course, wouldn't even think to. Maybe a bit less comfortable to carry this with this great big push button, full width. It is a button, really, on the handle. Let's just, well, first of all, sorry, there is a red dot here so that the user knows which way his case is pointing. So on the Schießkoffer, you have the trigger and the safety to indicate which way round, and you'd be hard pressed to fire it the wrong way round. But safety wise, there is in fact a big red dot on the case. So we will now pop it open again, let the sides drop. You've already seen this, of course. And, well, we'll deal with the case first. It's just some blocks of foam, sort of relatively high density polymer foam. Not a million miles away from what we use in museums, actually, as a sort of preservation medium. Two tall pads here for the gun to sit on, two shorter ones on the other side of the case. They sort of pinch the gun between them quite tightly, and then two support pads, again of different heights, here and opposite. So there's no mechanical spring system flinging this thing open. It's purely the sponginess of the foam that does it, and it's under quite a lot of compression. I can show you what I mean and watch back the opening because it'll be apparent on the camera as well. But if we get the other case safely out of the way, I'll try to position this to show you how you set this up, basically. Right, hopefully you can see on our overhead camera here, there is reinforcement in here as well. So as well as the spongy bits. We've just put this red sticker on here temporarily as an extra safety measure to make sure everything is aligned for shooting. So that's not actually part of the case. We'll be removing that when we clean the thing. There's this quite stout steel reinforcement here with these two. This is all stamped steel, bent into shape, riveted into the case. You'll probably see. So it's a reinforcement, but it's primarily a bracket for the mount that's attached to the gun. And you can see the shape of these not quite circular lugs. And I think you've probably gathered by now how this works. But so we arrange this like this. Pretend that we've loaded up and charged our weapon and placed it on safe, as we did earlier. And then what we need to do, and I need to get where I can reach this. You can see how this latches in. So these aren't really lugs. These are the lugs that are on the carry handle here, and they insert into here. And you can see how much pressure you have to apply to this foam. In fact, we're going to have to be quite careful with this foam. Now that we've recorded it firing, we're probably never going to do that again. We do not want to put this foam under undue stress too many times, even demonstrating it like this. But we're doing it for you guys because we think it's important to preserve this stuff for posterity. So the latch on the handle, spring loaded, and you can see how it depresses. And also hopefully that there are two, I'll just show that to camera there, two notches in these brackets front and back, and those are what lock the thing in. So push down, push on the handle button, and hopefully you can see how that latches on one side. So it's in, but it's got a bit of play. And then you close up your case, lean on it a little bit, and you do have to depress the handle, and it's latched in. So irrespective of these, that's how you load the thing into the case. Not too much to see. Otherwise, it is just a briefcase at the end of the day. The final thing that's worth showing is the attachment. So we'll just, one last time, we'll just pop it open semi-dramatically, and then we'll close that up. So the last bit of the system, it's very, very simple in operation, but so relatively complex in terms of how it attaches to the gun. Standard HK claw mount with these 4 points of contact. Similar lever system, in fact, it's essentially an identical lever system to what's on the shooting case, but we'll show you. So that's the latch that does the work of putting it on. This is the disassembly latch, essentially. So if we just press that, off pops the handle. So you can pretty quickly, if you had a chance to convert this into a normal, probably on a single point sling, or even without that, just push-pull, you could actually quickly field convert this into a more wieldy MP5K. It's probably more of an action movie prospect than a real one, but literally push button, throw that away, and you've got yourself an ordinary MP5K, which is pretty clever. And then to show you how it goes on, we flip up our latch, that clicks into place, engages with these lugs here. You see how at that point there, it actually engages. So by pressing that as well, we open up this space here. And that's what allows us to slot that over. And then all you do is, try not to cover that up with my hands, pull up on that lever. There we go, that's the click. Push that down out of the way, and it's on your gun, making it a bit heavy and unwieldy again. However, what you might be able to see, if we can line this up just right for the camera, to show you that there is in fact a sight picture through the carrying handle. So I wasn't just firing blind there's an arch under the carry handle, which is good enough for you to push-pull, and you get almost as good a sight picture. You just don't have the situational awareness around it. It's a hindrance to aiming, obviously, but then so is shooting a gun out of a briefcase. So which is best? I don't know. You be the judges on that one. It certainly is a bit unwieldy like this. Now, as far as deployment goes, I did find a German military manual that has a single page depicting how this is meant to be used in military circles. And it was a bit confusing because it's saying to carry this whole thing assembled in your left hand, drop the case, okay, fine, but then you're having to pass it across the body into your firing hand and then switch your support hand over, and then they show it firing from the left hip in classic 80s style. To me, it seems to make more sense to just have it on the left side, as I did, drop the case, bring it up to your support hand, and then get the firing hand on. I would have thought on the right side would be slightly quicker, but the manual is convinced that for the quickest possible operation, a left-hander should be carrying the briefcase in their left hand. So, discuss. Now, to fit the gun into the case, you do need the traditional MP5 backplate fitted. There's not an option here for a PDW folding stock, and there wasn't at the time. So this is, we believe both these cases were introduced in 1978. That's only 2 years after the gun itself was introduced. That's the MP5 Kurz. So that's when it all kicks off, basically, for this concept. And then this version was on the HK website until 2017. It's no longer. I don't know if technically you can still get these things or not, but the MP5 range is still available, but on the website at least, and on the promotional material, it's reduced to basically just the ordinary MP5. I think you probably get Ks as well if you make a big enough order with H and K. So by its nature, this sort of thing is pretty niche. The more conventional way to do this, of course, is to conceal something under a jacket or a coat. Now, if you are wearing an overcoat or something, an MP5K, relatively concealable. It could be on a single point sling hanging under your arm, locked into some sort of retention system that you break it free of and punch it out to use it. Various approaches have been done. The beauty of this, I suppose, is for sort of plain clothes type use. There's no great bulge under your jacket or anything like that. It's quick to get into action. For the shooting case, you just pull it up to a shooting position and start firing. No one's going to know what's happening until the bullets start raining. And in this case, it's, I guess, a bit slower to get into action, but practically speaking, again, no one's going to know what's going on when suddenly your briefcase falls apart and you're holding a gun. There was a third HK concealed case that we don't have, unfortunately, that was perhaps the quickest to get into action of the three, and that was like a sort of puppet of death, where you stick your hand in the back of it and operate the firearm still inside the case. So closer to the ordinary shooting case, not that ordinary, but you're still going to be fumbling and looking a bit weird. There's not a version where you just reach into the case and you're firing out the bottom of the case. That really is a bit more movie land. In terms of users, a little bit hazy there. I don't know of any specific incidents where this was used. You can find the original HK promotional video for the shooting case online. I've never seen any material on this at all. In fact, I've never even seen any promotional material on this specific case, just the fact that it was on the website for a number of years. Users-wise, the chap in the German Army manual is, well, it's a catch-all manual, so that's probably referring to, or therefore, GSG-9. They're a known user, the Special Forces unit, GSG-9. Other, police-type units as well. As a broad class of thing, we know they've been purchased all over the place. Specialist police use is probably fair to say. VIP protection, definitely. But by its very nature, there isn't a great deal out there on the use of these things. But there are perhaps more out there than people think. I know that 20 odd of the shooting case were recovered in Iraq, that Saddam Hussein had purchased for whatever year, well, presumably his own VIP protection. I think perhaps the reason this has eventually died away, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong if these things are still in use, but it's maybe not the height of fashion anymore to walk around with a briefcase, and this is very much a 1970s, 80s design of briefcase. So if you are carrying a briefcase in London or something, it's probably going to be a more traditional leather covered one or something. So I at least would be suspicious if I saw someone with a hard shell briefcase and a shifty pair of eyes. They might have an MP5.